Now for a political video. So this video is about leftist topics. It is made for leftists. But just for the general audience, I will briefly summarize some key terms. So a leftist, in the simplest definition I can give, is somebody who opposes capitalism and conservative values. And among leftism, there are different types of leftists. The main divide is the statist divide. So you have, on one hand, statist leftists, also known as Marxist-Leninists, or tankies for short. And then on the other side, you have anarchist leftists, or just anarchists for short, because let's be real, anarcho-capitalism is a joke ideology. And that is in opposition to liberals or fascists who support, fascists support conservative values mainly. Liberals, to an extent, do also, though liberals, the support is mainly for capitalism and the state. So, leftist unity. It's an idea that is around a lot in leftist circles, that the different leftist groups, anarchists and tankies, should unite. But I'm not so sure about it. What this video basically is for one thing, why I don't like tankies. I'm, by the way, an anarchist, full disclaimer. Why I don't like tankies, and why just the idea of leftist unity in general is bad. So for one thing, with tankies, I mean, the whole idea of a left-wing state does trace back to Karl Marx and his ideas that when there's a communist revolution, there will be a temporary socialist state, which will lead the place into communism. The problem, though, with that is that, for one thing, it's temporary. And also, just because Marx said it, I don't think it's right. You know, Marx is not the holy book, even though he is an important leftist figure. And part of the problem with the establishment of a socialist state is what happens after that state is established. Because I don't think that any dominant social group, any upper class, voluntarily gives up its power once that power is established. I don't think that at any point in history that has happened, and it has not happened for the history of so-called communist states. And by the way, again, for the general audience, true communism, once it's established, is a stateless, classless society. You know, no socialist leader has ever, given up their power to establish communism. And I don't think they ever would or will. Because it just doesn't happen like that. And also, the idea of a socialist state to begin with, it's just, something that should happen in transition. It should be a very quick thing, but some of these, socialist states have been around for decades. And they see no sign of going away or transitioning to true communism anytime soon. And one thing that I really dislike about tankies is that they're willing to support practically any country that calls itself communist. No matter if it actually supports communist ideals, no matter how corrupt it is, no matter what actions it takes, a tanky will support it. So tankies support, North Korea, which is closer to, a medieval monarchy than any sort of thing that, Marx dreamed of. Yet tankies support it anyway. Or China, which is currently committing genocide against the Uyghurs. And, a tanky will, joke around and say ACAB with the rest of us. But then when it comes to the Hong Kong police, suddenly, they really like the police. And I think that at the point that you are supporting a genocidal fascist police state, what's the point of even being a leftist? Like, what's the point of, fighting fascism when there's a genocide going on at home? So that gets me to the idea of leftist unity. The idea that leftists should just put their differences aside and join in a common fight against capitalism and fascism. And while I do agree that capitalism and fascism need to be fought, and in any sort of urgent situation, I would team up with whoever's available to fight them, again, I don't support tankies on this because what's the point of fighting fascism when there's a genocide going on at home? And, tankies dominate leftist discourse, so they basically dictate, what is or is not good for leftists to believe. When I try to bring up a complaint against the so-called socialist state, it's somehow perceived as an attack on leftism itself, when really I'm just attacking the state for not being leftist enough. As if any state could really be that leftist. The number of tankies who have called me a liberal just because I'm an anarchist, they say, like, well, you both believe in individual rights, therefore you're a liberal. It's just a dumb argument. And the idea is, that they try to cultivate, is that anarchists should just, be friendly with the tankies. Just, cooperate with each other, and it'll be fine. But if you look at the actual history of this happening, it doesn't. When the Russian Revolution was left in control of the tankies, what happened was, Lenin, Stalin took power, and they brutally crushed the Ukrainian anarchist movement. Just mass slaughter during the Spanish Civil War, which was a combined leftist fight against fascism. Stalinist forces just attacked anarchists in Spain, thus weakening the leftist cause and allowing the fascists to, regain superiority. In practically any socialist state, anarchists are persecuted for being anarchist. It seems like the whole idea of leftist unity is just sort of to keep anarchists down. To say, your ideas, just ignore them for now. The greater threat is capitalism, so just follow us. And then when they finally get to power, they show their true colors. We're no longer best comrades. You're suddenly shooting at us. And I just don't think it's right. And I'm not going to shut my mouth at, a human rights violation or a genocide just because, it's a supposedly communist state doing it. So the moral of the story is, if you're an anarchist, be very wary of what the tankies say. And don't, just agree with them for the sake of leftist unity. Because they support the state just as much as the liberals do. I know that this will probably get a lot of tankies mad, but if you can give a good counter-argument, then maybe I'll rejoin in the calls for leftist unity. Until then, peace out, Lime Gang.